Some viewers who had a look at some of my previous films have noticed that I have a keen interest in wildlife and filming of wildlife. I have also at times indicated that there is ever diminishing space for wildlife. But a real shocker was the latest report of the World Wildlife Fund. Displayed is the Living Planet Index, which tracks mammals, birds, fish and amphibians, almost 32,000 species. Although the graph depicts the average for the whole globe, embedded is the number for Africa, which shows a 67% decrease in wildlife population since 1970. Poaching is surely a major contributor, but pointers are also given as loss of habitat. For this, we don't have to limit our view to Africa alone. Germany, for example, has over the centuries made wolves, bears, European bison, badgers, lynx extinct. Even the roe deer is these days under threat due to increased pressure by the state to make more profit out of the use of timber. 1,000 years ago, Germany was covered almost entirely by forest. Today, at an average, 25% remain. Germany claims that it has no longer a natural landscape, but a cultivated landscape. What does that mean? No room for wild animals any longer. Let's come back to Africa. How does a typical loss of habitat practically evolve? I have flown over some typical South African settlements in my neighborhood to demonstrate what is happening. It might appear like deviating from the main theme of this film, but in the end you will understand my reasoning. This is Saldanha town, a mid-sized town living mainly from activities in connection with the harbor. The main purpose of this harbor is to receive iron ore from far away in the inland and loading it onto ships. Diasville is the township of Saldanha, where mostly coloreds and some black people live. It has been extended over the decades. It received a major blow with the closure of the steel factory of Saldanha, where 2,000 direct jobs were lost and perhaps as many indirect jobs. Similar to what is happening in most towns in South Africa, this extension is a result of rapid urbanization. Vredenburg is the regional center. The commercial side of businesses experienced some benefit from the influx of the affluent section of the population as mentioned earlier. Otherwise, it was also affected by the closure of Saldanha Steel. Lowville has seen some extensions over the decades. One can easily classify this high-density settlement as the home of the working class of Vredenburg. This part is characterized by even higher density living, similar to a squatter camp. St. Helena Bay has been a typical sleepy fishing village. It is now receiving the largest influx of affluent people due to the inner country migration. Being squeezed in between a mountain and the sea, the settlement stretches over a long distance. Langville was established to accommodate a larger workforce required by the fish factories. Due to overfishing, only 3 fish factories remain though. Not more fish, neither more factories, nor more agricultural activity. The original inhabitants of Langville already suffer from a high degree of unemployment. This extension is solely a result of urbanization with little or no prospect of a job. This explosion of the squatter camps has happened here in a micro scale. The area just shown is known as the west coast of South Africa. One has to bear in mind that over the past 5 years, an unprecedented building boom in the more affluent areas has happened. The reason being that many citizens, those who can afford it, migrate from other areas in the country to here. They are driven by deteriorating living conditions in those areas, such as an increased crime rate, deteriorating service delivery by mostly bankrupt municipalities, bad roads, etc. In this regard, the West Coast is exceptional. How does this, on the other hand, now look for the country as a whole? This graph is based on the official numbers of the Department of Statistics of South Africa. The picture is showing a disaster. The population growth far exceeds the economic performance of the country. The result is an unemployment rate of over 40%. Youth unemployment exceeds even 50%. The infrastructure of municipalities cannot cope. Schools cannot cope and produce largely school leavers which are unemployable. The health system is about to collapse. The result is a vast inequality gap between those in a job and a decent income and those without. The government tries to mitigate this through the introduction of a social grant system. However, the number of social grant recipients is growing exponentially and stands now at over 20 million, whereas the number of taxpayers remains stubbornly just over 5 million. This is not fundable. It is not the purpose of this video to delve into the socio-economic problems of South Africa. But what happens here is mirrored to some extent in the rest of Black Africa, which is the area where most of the wildlife is concentrated. The population of South Africa has, over the past 60 years, grown from 70 million to 60 million. This growth rate matches approximately that of the rest of Black Africa. How did this happen? The answer is the O word. None of the politicians worldwide dares to use the O word. Even at the United Nations, I have yet to hear a debate on the O word. The O word stands for overpopulation. It could also stand for overfishing, overgrazing, overexploitation of natural resources in general. Here a side thought which would give a heart attack to many environmental activists. Imagine that, justifiably so, these additional people one day like to enjoy the spoils of modern life, such as cars, batteries, central heating or cooling, a washing machine, a television, a dishwasher, etc., etc. Let's rather concentrate on that what these people need, namely clean water and food, meat as well as plant matter. As far as plant matter is concerned, we must not have the illusion that we can increase our productivity unlimited to grow more grain, for example. We have done this already by using extensively fertilizers, pesticides and insecticides with devastating effect on the environment. The easiest way of doing it is simply to increase the land area for agriculture. This is how it's done today. Cutting down trees and bushes and grow more crops by using more chemicals. In the same way, we create more space for livestock. Farming with livestock is quite tricky. We must assume that the most fertile portions of land are already taken. Carrying capacity for livestock is expressed in the number of hectares necessary to raise one head of livestock. More arid areas require thus larger numbers of hectares. We are facing now another problem. The deeper humans penetrate into areas traditionally occupied by wild animals, the more conflicts between them and human settlements occur. Elephants, buffalo and antelope raid crops. Predators kill livestock. When this happens, certain animals close to human settlements are declared problem animals and are legally culled. If mankind is not capable of managing the overt, the decline of wildlife will continue at an ever-increasing pace. The latest report of the World Wildlife Fund bears testimony to those consequences. I, for myself, see no chance for the African wildlife to survive in the long run. What is my answer? To visit the areas where wildlife roams as long as it is existing.